Okay, I have to ask. Have you looked at your portfolio today?
Oh boy.
Because if you haven't, honestly, maybe just don't.
Yeah.
Keep the app closed, go for a walk, pretend stock markets don't exist.
Ignorance is bliss right now, especially if you're holding any tech stocks. I mean, it is ugly out there.
Ugly feels like an understatement. We're recording this on Wednesday, February 4th, 2026, and the market is essentially having a meltdown. It's just a sea of red. But what's fascinating and frankly a little terrifying is why.
Right.
We aren't talking about interest rates spiking. We aren't talking about, a geopolitical crisis or an oil shortage.
We are talking about a demo.
A software
A
debt.
demo that has wiped billions, with a B, billions of dollars in value off some of the biggest names in gaming and software. Seemingly overnight.
So, welcome to the deep dive. Today we are looking at the culprit. Google DeepMind's Project Genie, specifically the new iteration, Genie 3. And look, we have a lot of ground to cover. We need to explain why companies like AppLovin and Unity are just, tanking. We need to figure out if investors are overreacting or if they're actually seeing the future clearly.
And I think, maybe most importantly, we need to understand what Genie 3 actually is. Because the headlines are all calling it an AI video generator, and that is, that's just wrong.
Right.
It is significantly more complex than that.
It's more like the Matrix than a movie camera.
Exactly. It's a simulation engine.
But before we get to all the sci-fi stuff, and trust me, the examples involved a gorilla in a vest, so you'll want to stick around. Let's ground this in the financial reality.
Okay.
Start us off with the damage report. What's happening on the scoreboard today?
It is brutal. The epicenter of the quake is really AppLovin, ticker symbol APP. As of this morning, they dropped another 4%, trading around $463.90.
Wow.
And you have to remember, this isn't an isolated bad day. This follows a January where they were already hammered down 30%.
That is a massive correction. And for those who don't follow the plumbing of the App Store, AppLovin is huge. They're the engine room of mobile game advertising.
Right. But the contagion is spreading. I mean, look at Unity software. Unity is the engine that powers something like half of all mobile games on the planet.
Oh, yeah. You see that logo constantly.
Constantly. They fell roughly 11% today and yesterday. At one point, they were down 35%.
35%. That's a capitulation event.
It is. And even Roblox, which is kind of its own ecosystem, is taking a hit, down about 5.5%.
So connect the dots for me. Why does Google showing off a cool AI tool cause someone to sell their Unity stock? What is the narrative taking hold on Wall Street right now?
The narrative is displacement.
Right.
It is the fear of the middleman getting cut out.
Middleman being the game engine.
The game engine, the developer, the coding infrastructure, all of it. There is a quote from Lars Skovgaard, a senior strategist at Danske Bank, that really nails the mood. He pointed out that up until now, the assumption was that software companies were the winners of the AI revolution.
Sure.
They were the ones selling the picks and shovels for the gold rush.
Right. You use AI to write code faster, so the software company wins. You use AI to make art assets, but you still put them in Unity.
Precisely. That was the old assumption. But Genie 3, it flips that script. Investors are looking at this demo and thinking, wait a minute. If an AI can generate a fully playable video game in real time just from a text prompt, why do I need a game engine?
Right.
Why do I need to hire developers to write C# code? Why do I need the existing infrastructure at all?
If the AI is the software, the old models just crumble.
That is the fear. If I can just speak a game into existence, Unity doesn't have a product to sell me anymore. And AppLovin doesn't have an ad network to run because, who knows, maybe the game generates its own content on the fly.
Now, obviously, Wall Street tends to be dramatic.
A little.
Is everyone panicking, or are there cooler heads prevailing?
There is definitely a counter-argument. Mike Hickey over at Benchmark put out a note that was much more level-headed. He makes a really crucial distinction. AI might change how games are built, but that doesn't necessarily change how they are monetized or discovered.
Just because I can make a game in 5 seconds doesn't mean anyone wants to play it.
Exactly. And it does mean I can sell ads in it effectively. Hickey's point is that the business of gaming is about more than just rendering pixels. It's about distribution, user acquisition, community. Those moats might hold up better than people think.
Well, we are going to find out pretty soon if the executives agree. All eyes are on next week, right?
February 11th.
Yeah.
That is the moment of truth. AppLovin releases their earnings.
That is going to be a tense phone call.
To put it mildly, I mean, the CEO, Adam Forey, is going to have to address this head on. Investors are jittery. They need to know, is this AI threat just a theoretical ghost story? Or are you actually seeing a shift in the bottom line? Are mobile ad demand softening because people are waiting for this AI revolution?
Okay, so that sets the stakes. The money is scared. But to understand if they should be scared, we have to look under the hood. I spent some time with the DeepMind research papers and the demo reels for Genie 3, and I have to admit, I get why people are freaking out.
It is a significant leap forward in computer science.
Yeah, but you corrected me earlier when I called it a video generator. Google calls it a general-purpose world model. Can you break that down for us? We hear LLM or large language model all the time. What is a world model?
So think of it this way. A large language model like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It predicts the next word in a sentence.
Right.
It understands the statistical relationship between text. A world model predicts the next frame in a video based on the previous frame and your input.
So it understands cause and effect
Yeah.
visually.
Yes, but Genie 3 goes a step further. It isn't just making a movie clip like OpenAI's Sora or Google's VO. It creates an environment you can interact with. It takes a text or image prompt and generates a playable 3D world running at like 20 to 24 frames per second.
That's the key part, the playable part. I'm not typing, show me a video of a robot. I'm typing, I want to be a robot. And then I'm holding a controller and moving the robot.
Real-time control. That is the breakthrough. It renders at 720p resolution, which is decent for a prototype, better than old DVDs. But the magic is in the responsiveness. It understands physics, or rather it mimics physics so convincingly that it feels real.
The examples they showed were just wild. I want to paint a picture for you here because this is hard to visualize without seeing it. There was one prompt, a white surfboard slicing through the barrel of a massive turquoise wave.
Classic tech demo stuff. Water is notoriously hard to simulate.
Right, but usually that's just a passive video.
Yeah.
In this, the user was controlling the surfboard. They were steering up and down the wave face. The water was reacting. The wave was crashing behind them.
And think about what that implies. The model has to understand hydrodynamics. It has to understand how light refracts through water. It has to understand collision detection, that the board can't just clip through the water like a ghost. And it learned all of this just by watching millions of videos of the real world. Nobody programmed water physics into it. It learned water physics.
My absolute favorite example was the absurd one. I'm just going to read the description from the source material because it sounds like a fever dream or, I don't know, a surrealist painting.
Okay, let's hear it.
A realistic gorilla in an emerald red vest and bicorn hat holding a silk parasol navigating moss-laden McMansions.
A very specific request. I wonder who came up with that one.
And it worked. You see this gorilla walking around these fancy houses. But then they showed off a feature that I think is the real game changer. They call it promptable world events.
This is where that game engine comparison really starts to feel valid.
Explain how that works.
So usually in a game, the assets are static. The level is the level. If you're in a street level, you're in a street level until you load the next map.
Right.
With Genie 3, you can change the simulation while you're inside it.
In real time.
In real time. The example they gave was a Victorian street scene. You're walking down the street and there's a portal. You walk through the portal and instantly, no loading screen, no rendering pause, you are in a vast desert with dunes.
That is mind-bending.
It is what we call autoregressive generation. The AI is literally building the bridge as you walk on it. It predicts what the desert should look like based on the prompt and your movement, frame by frame.
There was another clip with a featureless cardboard box character doing a headbutt in a workshop. It just shows the range. It can do photorealistic nature, it can do surrealist art, it can do like claymation-style weirdness.
It is an infinite asset generator. But, and this is the huge but that we need to really drill into, this is where the investor panic might be disconnected from the technical reality.
Okay, let's unpack the but, because if I'm Unity and I see this, I'm terrified. But their CEO, Matthew Bromberg, he put out a statement basically telling everyone to calm down.
He did. He called it a powerful accelerator.
Is that just corporate speak for please don't sell our stock?
Maybe a little. But he is making a technical argument that is actually very sound. He brought up a concept that is absolutely critical for anyone listening to understand. The difference between probabilistic and deterministic systems.
Okay, this feels like the crux of the argument. Lay it on us. What's the difference and why does it matter for video games?
Genie 3 is probabilistic. It's guessing. It's looking at the last frame and saying, statistically, based on all the video data I have ever seen, the next frame should look like this.
Like a dream.
Exactly like a dream. In a dream, the logic is fluid. If you turn around in a dream, the door behind you might have changed color. Or maybe the hallway is longer than it was a second ago. It feels real in the moment, but it isn't consistent.
Which is fine for a trippy art demo.
Right. But think about a competitive game. Think about Counter-Strike or League of Legends or Super Mario. Those rely on deterministic systems.
Meaning the rules are hard-coded?
If I shoot a red barrel, it must explode. Every single time. If I jump, I must jump exactly 3.5 meters high. Every single time. That is what engines like Unity provide. The rules, the physics engine, the logic layer. A probabilistic model like Genie creates a hallucination of a game, not a game itself.
So Bromberg's argument is essentially you use Genie to dream up the assets, to make the tree, the car, the background texture, but you have to import that into Unity to apply the actual laws of physics.
That is the bull case for the industry. The workflow becomes Genie generates the raw material and Unity provides the execution layer. Bromberg argues that you can't build a complex, monetizable game just on a probabilistic hallucination. You need a structure to hang it on.
That makes sense. It's like using AI to design a building versus using AI to actually build it so it doesn't fall down.
That's a great analogy. You still need the steel beams of the game engine to hold up the pretty AI pictures.
But, and here's the bear case, what happens when the dream becomes stable? What happens in Genie 4 or Genie 5 when the hallucination becomes so consistent that we can't tell the difference between it and a physics engine?
That is the long-term existential risk. If the AI gets good enough at predicting physics, then maybe we don't need the hard-coded rules anymore. But looking at Genie 3 right now, DeepMind is remarkably honest about the limitations. And they are significant limitations.
Let's list them. Because the investors panic selling at 9:00 a.m. probably did not read the footnotes in the research paper.
The biggest one is memory. Genie 3 only recalls changes for up to a minute.
Wait, 1 minute?
1 minute. It has a very short context window. So imagine playing an RPG. You slay a dragon, you drop a sword on the ground, and you walk into the next room. 2 minutes later, you walk back. The sword is gone. The dragon might be back. The room might look completely different.
That breaks almost every game genre imaginable. You can't have a save file in a world that is being hallucinated frame by frame.
Exactly. It cannot support extended gameplay loops. It creates vignettes, not sagas.
What else?
Hallucinations. We see this in text AI, and we see it here too. If you try to generate text in the game, like a street sign or a menu, it usually comes out as gibberish unless you explicitly force it in the prompt.
Yeah.
And it struggles to simulate specific real-world locations accurately. You can't say, show me Times Square and expect a perfect map. It gives you a vibes-based version of Times Square.
I also saw some comments from gamers on VGC Video Games Chronicle, and they were pretty savage.
Gamers are rarely shy with their opinions.
Yeah. One user called it a gimmick and said investors are monumentally stupid for thinking this replaces game dev, and I think they have a point about the feel of a game.
This is the action space problem. In Genie 3, the range of actions you can take is limited. You aren't performing complex button combos, you aren't wave dashing or doing precise animation cancels.
Right. Gamers value that handcrafted feel. They know how hard it is to make a jump mechanic feel heavy or floaty. Wow. AI can mimic the look of a game, but mimicking the tightness of controls. That seems much harder.
It is the difference between watching someone play a game and actually playing it. Genie 3 is currently excellent at the visual simulation, but that tactile feedback loop isn't there yet.
There's also the safety aspect. Google DeepMind has a responsibility team all over this.
Oh, they have to. If you have a tool that generates anything from a prompt, the business risk is massive. You could accidentally generate copyrighted characters. Nintendo wouldn't be happy about an AI Mario popping up in your demo.
Or worse, violent or harmful content.
DeepMind is being very cautious about open-ended content generation. They aren't just releasing this into the wild for anyone to use yet. They have watermarking tools like Synthid embedded in it. They're treating it like a loaded weapon, not a toy.
Which slows down the disruption. This isn't hitting the App Store tomorrow. Okay, so taking all that into account, the memory is short, the controls are floaty, and it might hallucinate weird stuff. We probably aren't playing AI-generated Call of Duty next week.
Definitely not, no.
But DeepMind isn't just building this for fun. They have some serious use cases that have nothing to do with gaming, right? Because when I was reading about the Sima project, a light bulb went on for me.
This is where it gets really fascinating. Forget video games for a second. Think about robotics.
The Sima project is about training robots.
Right. Sima stands for Scalable Instructable Multi-World Agent. Basically, if you want to train a robot to navigate a burning building, you have a problem. You can't just throw $1 million worth of hardware into a real fire and see what happens.
That gets expensive fast and dangerous.
Exactly. But with Genie 3, you can generate a photorealistic simulation of that burning building. You can prompt it to introduce obstacles, collapsing beams, smoke, weird lighting. You train the AI agent inside the matrix, so to speak.
It's a flight simulator for everything.
Yes. And because it creates interactive worlds, the robot AI learns cause and effect. It learns that if it pushes a door, the door opens. It learns this in the virtual world before you ever put it in a real robot body.
That seems huge for autonomous vehicles, too.
Massive. You can use Genie to generate edge cases. You can tell it, show me a snowy road at night with a child running out from behind a parked truck. You can run that scenario 10,000 times without risking anyone's life.
And education. I imagine a history class where the teacher says, okay, open your laptops, we are going to ancient Rome. And the AI generates a walkable simulation of the forum right there.
It transforms learning from passive reading to active exploration. That is the real power here.
Right.
The gaming stock panic is just the surface ripple. The underlying technology is a fundamental shift in how we simulate reality.
It really is. It feels like we are at this strange flashpoint. On one hand, you have the stock market freaking out, wiping billions of dollars off the table because they see a prototype.
And on the other hand, you have the tech itself, which is incredible, but also barely functional as a commercial product right now. It is a classic hype cycle collision.
So if I'm a listener trying to make sense of this, the takeaway is, Genie 3 is a glimpse of the future, but the sky isn't falling on AppLovin and Unity just yet.
I would say the sky is clouding over. The immediate panic is likely an overreaction. Genie 3 cannot replace a game engine today. But it signals that the moat around game creation is getting shallower.
Explain that.
Well, right now, the barrier to making a game is technical skill. You need to know how to code, model, animate. In a Genie future, if anyone can prompt a world into existence, the value shifts. It shifts from who can build the graphics to who has the best ideas or who owns the audience.
Which brings us back to that February 11th earnings call for AppLovin.
Right. If Adam Frory comes out and says, hey, ad revenue is up and people are playing more mobile games than ever, this whole sell-off might look silly in retrospect.
Or they might lower guidance. They might say, we are seeing a shift.
That is why next week is so critical. It will separate the paranoia from the data.
It is going to be a nail-biter. I'll definitely be tuning in.
Absolutely.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought that came to me while watching one of those DeepMind clips. It was the blue balloon animal rabbit running through the rain on wet asphalt.
You have to see it to believe it. It physically steps. It doesn't just slide.
It was surprisingly emotional for a balloon. But here's the thought. We are moving toward a future where entertainment could be autoregressive, where the game is generated frame by frame specifically for you in real time based on your inputs.
The ultimate personalization.
But what happens to our shared culture? Think about it. We all talk about Level 1-1 in Super Mario Bros. We talk about the layout of Dust 2 in Counter-Strike. We share these experiences because the world is static. We all played the same game.
That is a profound question. If the level builds itself as you walk, my version of the game is fundamentally different from yours just because I looked left and you looked right.
Exactly. Does the concept of level design become obsolete? And do we lose that communal language of, how did you beat that boss, when the boss never existed for anyone else?
We might be trading shared experience for infinite personalization. And honestly, I am not sure if that is a trade we are ready to make.
Something to mull over while you watch the ticker tape tomorrow. Thanks for diving deep with us. We will be watching those earnings reports closely.
Until next time.